Hello, and welcome to the show, everybody. This is another edition of College Basketball Madness presented by Prime Sports World, and we are here to bring you a doozy. I am your host, Israel Rivera. Please like, share, and subscribe to the podcast at Prime Sports World on our Facebook page, YouTube channel, and our Twitch page. And if in case you missed us live, you can hear us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. That is Apple Music, Samsung Podcasts, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, ladies and gentlemen. But getting into the show, We have a doozy there. Just jam-packed, action-packed Saturday, as always, with lots of games here. I'll be bringing your top headlines, your top 25, and games to watch as well, ladies and gentlemen. So you guys don't want to miss that content here as we move forward. I know last week on my upset picks, I did hit on a couple. I believe Indiana beat Purdue, and then a couple others. If you guys want to call me out on it, feel free to do that. I believe I went 50% on my upset picks last week. But needless to say, we are here again to bring you some of that funk again. But here, starting with our top headline, a real heartfelt one. One that my prayers go out to Richmond basketball coach Chris Mooney, who's undergoing heart surgery and will miss the remainder of the season. He underwent heart surgery, I believe this weekend. So my prayers go out to the Mooney family and to Chris Mooney for a speedy recovery. Mooney's been the head coach at Richmond for 18 seasons, leading the Spiders to 3 NCAA tournament appearances. They went to the Sweet 16 in 2011 as a 12 seed, upsetting number 5 Vanderbilt in the first round before beating Morehead State and advancing to the round of 16. So to the Sweet 16. So and then Richmond has won the Athletic Conference tournament. They won it last year, winning 4 games in 4 days, and then upsetting number 5 Iowa in the first round last season. So Chris Mooney, you will be missed. For the remainder of the season. I hope you have a speedy recovery. Assistant coach Peter Thomas will serve as the interim head coach while Mooney is sidelined. Chris Mooney's been a tremendous coach in the basketball community and the college basketball community, and he will be missed. Right now, the Richmond Spiders are. Let me look at what their record is. The record is 13-14. They're 11th in the A10. So maybe they get some magic here, playing inspirational basketball. In their last 9 games, they've lost 7. And then the last 11, they've lost 8. So kind of reeling here at the end, but hopefully they catch lightning in the bottle as we gear up towards tournament season. They got 4 games left of the regular season. So hopefully they turn lightning in the bottle and play inspired for Coach Mooney. But this is bigger than basketball, and we all wish Coach Mooney a speedy recovery as he goes through this heart surgery. There. Second headline we have, is one from earlier this season, and this involves the ex-Texas coach Chris Beard. As Texas prosecutor, the DA has dropped their they dismissed the felony domestic violence case against former Longhorns basketball coach Chris Beard, in part because of the alleged victim's wishes not to prosecute. So his wife or fiance didn't want to prosecute under her wishes. So the DA has dropped that case against Chris Beard. We know he was arrested December 12th. For the domestic violence incident, as Chris Beard, strangled his wife and hit her a little bit during a confrontation in their home. She said that Beard acted in self-defense and she never wanted him to be prosecuted or to lose his job. But, when things like this get out, this is unacceptable. As a leader of the Texas Longhorns basketball team, so he's no longer there. We don't know where Chris Beard will end up, but right now the Texas DA prosecutors are no longer pursuing Chris Beard in the domestic violence case there in Texas. Moving on to our last headline here is 2 big ones. I mean, for journalists, and these are 2. I'm two big fans of these 2. Holly Rowe and Mark Spears. They received the Kurt Gowdy Media Award in Salt Lake City during the it's the Naismith Hall of Fame Kurt Gowdy Media Award. Mark Spears has been a staple amongst the NBA community on and off the court, and away from the court. Even this year, going over. I know Victor Wembanyama has been a big commodity this season. Him and guys like Brian Windhorst have reported on him, but just in light, he's reported on G League teams, and he's just reported on multiple NBA teams as well. Mark J. Spears has put in the work, and he's one of the best journalists. He received the print side award, and then ESPN's Holly Rowe received the electronic award. We all know Holly as a staple in women's college basketball. She's well deserving. Both of them are well deserving. Have a lot of respect for them. Great admiration for both of them as a journalist myself, and also just seeing how their careers have progressed to now, and seeing them get their flowers now is a great thing to see at All-Star Weekend there in Salt Lake City. So just want to give a shout out to Mark Spears and Holly Rowe for receiving the Kurt Gowdy Media Awards respectfully. Congratulations, both you lady and gentlemen. Moving on to our top 25. A little bit of a shakeup this week here as Purdue dropped. They lost one they were the number one team last week. They dropped one to they dropped two, actually. They dropped to Purdue and they dropped to Northwestern. Purdue dropped a couple slots here. Alabama moves up 2 slots. Even though I know Alabama lost to Tennessee. Believe that was a few days ago. They had to be a couple days ago that they lost to Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. Here, pulling up the game here. Yeah, it was February 15th. They lost to them 3 days ago, but still, losing to an unranked Northwestern, losing to Purdue, you lose your top slot. And Tennessee's a top 10 team. They're a good team. Got them on the slate this week as the games to watch. But anyways, Alabama at number 1. We got number 2, Houston. Number 3, Purdue. Number 4, UCLA. They just, looking like a buzzsaw lately. Kansas, after losing 4 straight, they come back and, have played great basketball. They moved right back up into the 5 slot. After losing 3 straight, I'm sorry. They've won in their last 6. They've gone 5-1, losing to only Iowa State, which the Big 12 is just a gauntlet. I mean, it's the best basketball. It's best conference in basketball. So no shock there. I mean, they lost to Iowa State by 15 at Iowa State. That's a tough place to play. Can't knock Kansas, but they've gone 5-1 in the last 6, putting them back up into the 5 slot. And then at number 6, we got Texas. 7, Virginia. At number 8, we got Arizona. And then number 9, one of my favorite teams in the nation, the Baylor Bears. I mean, this team, under Scott Drew, I mean, they have the defensive identity. I mean, in their last, let me look at this, after dropping 3 in a row in the middle of the season, in their last 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 11. In the last 11 games, the Baylor Bears are 10-1. They are a buzzsaw right now. They have a big matchup going into Lawrence, Kansas here this weekend. I mean, the Big 12 is just stacked. I mean, they got Kansas. They got to go to Kansas. Then they got to go to Kansas State. Then they come back home against Texas, all ranked in the top 15. Then they go to Oklahoma State. No slouch there. Oklahoma State is a fringe top 25 team, in my opinion. And then they end their regular season at home against number 19 Iowa State. You're talking about the last 5 games. They got to play 4 ranked opponents. I mean, Baylor could very well end up being in the top slot if they could win all 5 of these. If they could win all 5 of these games, really. Very tough schedule coming down the stretch. But in their last 11, they're 10-1. Buzzsaw. And the only loss was to Texas, at Texas, by 5 points. Keontae George is in Adam Flagler, but Keontae George is the scintillating freshman there. He's their top 10 projected pick there in Baylor. And then we all know about Adam Flagler, one of the best guards in the nation as well, averaging 15 points per game, 5 assists per game. Keontae George averaging 16.5 points per game, shooting 38.6% from the field. Yeah, the Baylor Bears. I think the Baylor Bears have a chance to really win the national title this year. I think they are really talented. I mean, they play defense. They are super complete. I love Alabama too. Alabama's really complete too. They have a top 3 projected freshman in Brandon Miller. I mean, when it's all said and done, I mean, I know Victor Wembanyama and Scoot Henderson are going to go 1 and 2, but Brandon Miller is for sure probably the number 3 overall pick in this year's draft. He's special. Reminds me a lot of Paul George. He's got Bama at number 1. At number 10, we got Tennessee. Number 11, Marquette moves down the slot. At number 12, we got K-State, stays pat. Number 13, Gonzaga moves up 3 after losing to St. Mary's. I believe that was last weekend. They also lost to Loyola Marymount by 1, but then they ended up coming back and beating Loyola Marymount by, godly, was it 43 points? They beat Loyola Marymount by 43 points. They were up by like 50 at one point, but they ended up beating Loyola Marymount by 43 points at Loyola Marymount after dropping them. So it's like that meme, right, where the guy loses, San Francisco or Philly loses, or a team loses, and they're playing Madden and they're just breathing heavy and they're just beating the other team by a bajillion points on like pro, by 1,000-1 or 1,000-0, breathing heavily, getting all that frustration out. That's kind of how Gonzaga did Loyola Marymount the other night. But after losing to St. Mary's, they bounced back and won 3 straight. In the last 7, they're 6-1. So Gonzaga coming down the stretch easy. They got one more shot at St. Mary's at their home. I assume that they might split that. I'm going to go out on a whim and say Gonzaga wins that game at home, but we'll see. It's been a long time. I can't even remember the last time St. Mary's swept Gonzaga. They always kind of are pretty much there tit for tat. Every other year, St. Mary's. Unless Gonzaga has those crazy super number 1 ranked teams and they sweep St. Mary's. If St. Mary's always gives them a competitive game. Competitive time during the season. At number 14, we got Indiana. They move up 4 slots. Number 15, Miami. I think the best team in the ACC, in my opinion, or one of the best teams in the ACC. I think they are the best team in the ACC. I think they're better than Virginia, in my opinion. I think they have a better conference record. Where Virginia's up there in the top 10. But yeah, I think Miami, when I look at the talent wise, I think Miami's the best team in the ACC, in my opinion. But they move up 4 slots to the top 15. Number 16, Xavier. Number 17, St. Mary's, you just talked about it. Number 18, Creighton Blue Jays. They move up 5 slots this week. Creighton Blue Jays, I mean, they had a really tough time to start the season. I mean, in the middle of the season, they dropped 6 in a row. Then won 3 in a row, lost 2 in a row to UConn and Xavier. And then ever since they lost those 2 in a row, they've won their last, I think it's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. They have gone 8-1 since they've dropped 3 in 1, including a win against Providence, a win against Xavier, and they won against UConn, and they just lost 94-86 to Providence the other day. But Creighton's coming on strong to end the season. They move back up into the top 20 after dropping all those games in the middle of the season there. Number 19, Iowa State. They dropped 8 slots. Iowa State's kind of reeling here towards the end of the season. Started off strong, but towards the end of the season, I mean, they're losing a lot of important games. They lost to Missouri. I covered that game a couple weeks ago. They lost at Texas Tech. They just can't win on the road here. They beat Kansas. They lost at Virginia, lost to Oklahoma State. These are just games in which teams are just like better, just to beating them. I can't believe how talented Iowa State has been, and teams have just been beating them like that. And then they kind of got back on the road, beating number 22 TCU. We'll see what they do against Kansas State. See if they could sweep Kansas State this weekend, this Saturday, led by Jaron Holmes and Tamim Lipsley. Jaron Holmes shooting 40% from the field and averaging 13 points per game there for the Iowa State Cyclones. So they can do a little bit of both. They can play fast pace, and they can get out and play defense on you, play aggressive. But yeah, the Big 12 is a gauntlet, like I have mentioned. Number 20, QCon. Number 21, San Diego State. And number 22, TCU drops down 5 slots. And number 23, we got NC State. 24 and 25, rounding out the top 25, Providence and Florida Atlantic. And then on the outside looking in, I mean, we got Missouri, Northwestern's right there on the outside looking in. On the fringe, Northwestern had a good week. They beat number 1 Purdue, and they beat number 14 Indiana in a span of 4 or 5 days. So Northwestern's a team that's peaking. They're peaking at the right time, and they could jump in the top 25. If they finish the season strong. And then Illinois is right there on the top 25, on the fringe top 25 as well. I have them as a game to watch this week, as we'll get into here as they play number 14 Indiana today. If they finish the season strong, I could see them very well going into the top 25 this week. And here we go, Prime Sports Games. Prime Sports World games to watch, as we always love to bring it to you. I just mentioned them, Illinois going into number 14 Indiana. That should be a very, very competitive basketball game. As I can see, Indiana has been playing really well of late. Pretty much second best team in the Big Ten. In my opinion, as Illinois, led by Terrence Shannon, Coleman Hawkins, and then Indiana led by Trace Jackson Davis, who leads the league. I believe is one of the nation's leader in blocks, averaging 20 points per game. One of the nation's leader in rebounds as well, at 11.3. This should be a hell of a game this week, today. Illinois is right there, right in the middle of the pack of the Big Ten Conference. Indiana's 9-6 in the conference. Illinois is 8-6 in the conference. 17. One game separates each other. I think if Illinois, my thing about Illinois, they can score, they can get out in transition, and they also can. These are very similar teams. This is going to be a very close game, very, very close game. Let me see the last meeting that they had this year. Let's see who won that game. Illinois lost to Indiana at home 80-65. So they're looking to return the favor here, going into Indiana. I'm going to go ahead and be a little biased, and I'm going to go up my Illinois Fighting Illini. I just think Terrence Shannon's going to, get hot this game. Coleman Hawkins, is going to play his, is going to, get hot as well. Going to give Trace Jackson Davis some problems there. He's averaging, Coleman Hawkins is kind of disappointed me a little bit this year. 10 points per game, 6.5 rebounds, 3.2 assists. I just think that he hasn't been as efficient of lately. But we'll see. But I'm going to go on a limb. I think Illinois plays. They know that they can get into the top 25. This is a big game for them. No room for error. I think Illinois plays scrappy, and they get the win. They pull out the win in Indiana. And it's actually one of my upset picks this week. This is my first upset pick. Is Illinois over Indiana. Another game to watch. Number 10, Tennessee. Going into Kentucky. That's going to be another big game there. That's a game to watch there in the top 25. And number 19, Iowa State, going into number 12, Kansas State. That's, like I said, man, look, hey, my last 3 games to watch, when I look at the college basketball, the Big 12 is the cream of the crop this year. They are the best team. They are the best conference in the nation by far. Nothing against ACC and Big 10, but Big 12 has just a tumultuous. They have so many good teams there. I think the national champion is going to come out the Big 12 as it did last year. This will be a good game here between Kansas State and Iowa State. As I mentioned, Iowa State beat Kansas State the last time, so they're looking for the season sweep. I think Jaron Holmes, Teron Lipsley, they're going to be, key in this game. Lord, I think they split. I think Kansas State wins at home. I think we get a big performance by Keontae Johnson, their senior leader here, averaging 17 and a half and 7.5 rebounds per game. So I could see Kansas State winning this game against Iowa State this week. Going into my next game, Oklahoma State going into number 22 TCU. Love that game. I think that one's going to be a very close one. Oklahoma State, definitely a very tough team. Can't sleep on Oklahoma State. They're a Fringe Top 25 team in my opinion as well. I really think when I look at TCU, they're well bound. Both of these teams are very similar. Both teams well balanced, got great guard play. One guy to look out for is their wing, Khalid Boone, leading the team, 12.5 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, very tough defender. The kid, is shooting, 61%, in the arc from mid-range. Not a very strong three-point shooter, but very strong defender, very long, athletic, can get out on you. So look for Khalid Boone to have a big game as well. These are two, senior, laden teams. Avery Anderson's another guy at 11 points per game, shooting, 39.9% from the field. Not very strong 3-point shooters on Oklahoma State, which has kind of hindered them this year. Not a very strong 3-point shooting team. But yeah, I think Oklahoma State can pull it off. I think that's one of my upsets of the week here is Oklahoma State over number 22 TCU. And the best game, and this is probably the game of the week, is number 9 Baylor going into Lawrence, Kansas, going against number 5 Kansas. This is going to be the best game of Saturday. I mentioned earlier, led by super freshman Keontae George of Baylor, 6'4", 185. This kid's a projected top 5 pick, 16.5 points per game. He's got great size, 4.5 rebounds, 3.1 assists. They look for him to get big buckets down the stretch. Adam Flagler, we already know, from the national championship team a couple years ago. Adam Flagler is a guy that, he leads them in assists. He's 15.8 points per game. He's a senior leader. He's a guy that's a big-time player. Look for both of those guys to have great games against Kansas. Then on the Kansas side, Grady Dick, Jeff Wilson, Jalen Wilson, I'm sorry. Both of those guys, Grady Dick, we already know, can shoot lights out, from the field. Jalen Wilson's their junior, is a junior. He's a guy that can, get it done. Grady Dick's their super freshman, 6'8", 205 wing player, averaging 14.7 points per game, 4.9, 1.6 assists. And he's shooting 42%, scorching hot. One of the best 3-point shooters in the nation, 42%, shooting 46% from the field. I look for those two guys to, have a good game against Baylor. But this is a tough one, guys. I'm actually going to go Baylor to win this basketball game. I almost said football game. I'm going to go Baylor to win this basketball game against Kansas. Just think they're tougher right now. I know Kansas, has kind of reeled back after losing 3 straight. They've won, 5 of their last 5 and 1 in their last 6, something like that. Baylor's 10-1 in their last 11. I think Baylor's playing great defense right now, playing great as a team. The defense is on a string right now, and they're tough as nails. Scott Drew's got them well coached. I think they're a buzzsaw right now. I think they finished the season undefeated. I think they finished the season without a loss. Baylor does. So give me the Baylor Bears to beat KU this week. And then my upsets of the week, we got Illinois over Indiana. Got Kentucky beating Tennessee at home, Oklahoma State on the road beating number 22 TCU, and I got the Johnnies, baby, the Johnnies beating Creighton. They're at home. St. John's is at home. And I got them beating the Creighton Blue Jays. I know Creighton's been playing well of late, but I think this is a tough one. This is a game that can sneak up on them. I got the Johnnies winning today. Yes, baby, it's going crazy. It's Saturday, basketball madness, baby. I can't be more happy enough than this. I hope that was a great Dick Vitale impersonation. But anyways, you guys can call me on that. Please like and share, subscribe to the podcast at Prime Sports World on our Facebook, YouTube channel, and our Twitch page. And in case you missed this podcast, make sure to go see us on all streaming platforms where podcasts can be heard. I dropped the link in the page to our RSS feed. We can be heard on Apple Music, Samsung Music, Amazon Podcast, with Samsung Podcast, Amazon Music, iHeartRadio, and Spotify, ladies and gentlemen. So Prime Sports World has you covered 360 degrees all the way around. So you don't want to miss that hot content. David and TJ will be bringing you the crossover here this afternoon. So you guys don't want to miss that content, as they will be talking about the All-Star game weekend, All-Star weekend in this episode of the crossover. So you guys don't want to miss that later on. But ladies and gentlemen, this has been fun. This has been great. And in case I missed you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. And sayonara, suckers.